Welcome to Campaign Chronicles as we head towards presidential elections here in France. Now, with homelessness a major and rising problem in France and some of the world's highest rents here in Paris, pushing even people on good incomes to spend most of their money on rent, housing is becoming a major issue in the election campaign. And it was the topic of a big summit yesterday. I'm now joined by our press reviewer, Elena Casas, to talk about that. What are the papers saying then of this problem, this issue?
Hello, Claire. Well, Libération is sizing up the different candidates' propositions to do something about homelessness. They point out, of course, that for anyone coming to Paris, any foreigner, it's one of the first things you notice how many homeless people there are here. And they reckon as many as 8 million people are affected by the problem of bad housing. Obviously, they're not all homeless, but they're living in far too small houses for the size of their families, or they're spending a silly amount of their income on rent every month. So what do the candidates say they're going to do about it? Well, François Hollande says he wants to put a fixed limit on rents, but Libération points out that might actually increase rent in some parts of the country where it's not that high at the moment, because landlords might all go, well, if that's the legal limit, I'm going to charge that as well. So it could actually exacerbate the problem. Nicolas Sarkozy, on the other hand, in his big TV interview on Sunday, said he was going to change the planning law so that you can build 30% more building than you could before on the amount of land that you have, which he thought was going to be an amazing solution. But the website has been having a look at this. They say that could have several negative consequences. Firstly, it's a big present to people who already own land anyway and could then enable them to just be exploitative landlords to more unfortunate tenants if that's what they wanted to do. And on the other hand, the local UMP in lots of parts of the country, especially here in Paris, has been behaving in the completely opposite direction, they say. The mayor of Paris, Bertrand Delanoë, says the UMP is blocking him from building more necessary social housing on public land that's owned by the government. So he says that attitude is hypocritical.
The thing is, though, is that it wasn't this actual summit on housing that grabbed headlines. It was the fact that flour was thrown at the socialist candidate François Hollande.
Yes, exactly. That's what's made more headlines than the actual housing summit. He took it on the chin. He said it's an occupational hazard when you're a politician. These things happen. So here's what happened.
He's come to sign a charter on public housing when, suddenly, a woman pops up on the stage, and François Hollande is covered in flour. Very quickly, security guards tackle her to the ground. The candidate remains calm. The perpetrator is cuffed and taken away through a packed auditorium. A few minutes later, François Hollande reappears as if nothing has happened.
If I want to meet the French people and sign treaties, if I want to go to conferences where there are a lot of people, I must assume the responsibilities and the risks. There will always be someone who's a little more deranged than someone else. Best to put that person aside, and if you find that person, best to try to keep her from coming near me. But otherwise, listen, these are the risks of the job.
Before him, in 2002, Lionel Jospin was the victim of a squirt of tomato sauce. That same year, President Jacques Chirac was the target of the unstable Maxime Brunerie, who aimed at the president with a rifle. And President Nicolas Sarkozy hasn't been spared either. These physical acts of criticism could become more and more frequent.
In the future, these incidents will be inevitable. And in fact, there will be more of them, for the simple reason that today, I'd say that people are increasingly hypersensitive because of private and professional difficulties.
A month ago, François Hollande had already received death threats, and he isn't the only one. Both Marine Le Pen and Eva Joly were also targeted. And so it looks like the upcoming campaign will include a lot of security.
It's not the first time something like this has happened to a politician then, so the papers are starting to worry about their safety. Le Parisien today asks if politicians, presidential candidates need more security. They say Hollande is getting a new team of 12 bodyguards who are going to do a rotating look after him all of the time. They ask some ordinary people in the street what they think about that, and he doesn't actually get much sympathy from ordinary Le Parisien readers. They say the government's already spending too much money on things like politicians' security, and that it's them who put themselves, figuratively at least, in the line of fire. And so Hollande should be looking after his own safety. And Le Nouvel Observateur today reports that he's not the only one who's had this kind of attack recently. The Green candidate, Eva Joly, apparently recently got a bullet in the post. So they're saying this could be one of the most tense and violent presidential campaigns for years. So we can expect more of these incidents to happen.
Well, flour's pretty harmless, but you've got to hope it doesn't get any more serious than that. All right, thank you very much, Elena. That's it for Campaign Chronicles. That's it also for Live from Paris. Do stay tuned to France 24.